All right, what's up, man? What's up, everybody? I'm here today. I got Matt Schnell on. How you doing, bro?
Doing great. Doing great. Doing as good as I could be doing at the current moment. That's for sure.
Yeah, I hear you. So right now we're faced with being at home and you locked down. And Matt, you're actually a UFC fighter. How long you been in the UFC now?
I got into the UFC in 2016, December of 2016. So about 4 years now.
Okay. And we met probably 10 years ago. Actually here in Shreveport, Louisiana, training at Karate Mafia, and I actually got to know you right when you were walking into the gym, I guess. How old were you then?
I must have been about 19.
Yeah.
First started coming and training at Karate Mafia with you guys, and yeah, seems like yesterday to me, but 10 years,
Yeah,
11
dude,
years.
it's went by quick, man. I mean, I think that's back. I was doing oil field work and just kind of playing in the MMA scene. You guys took it serious, though. I mean, look where you're at now. That's all you've been doing since then, I guess, man. It's been a nonstop grind.
It was an interesting time coming up because I didn't know that I was doing it seriously then. I just was having
Yeah,
fun with it. I worked at Smoothie King and went
I
to
know. I remember that.
so it's strange to think how things have come full circle, but yeah, it's cool to think back, and it was a struggle back then, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you were like I said, you're all in. I guess you stayed up, you stayed into it. I trained and fought a couple years, and I kind of fell off. And what was cool is it's been about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. I came back and had like a farewell tour fight, and you got to MC it, dude. And honestly, that I was honored, man. I was honored that you were there, and it was just cool to watch the video and back and hear you commentating. I was like, this is badass.
Yeah, obviously I've been trying to dabble in the commentary a little bit, and it's good. It's cool to see my old friends still doing it and going out there and putting it on the line. So it's fun to do it from where I'm sitting too. And I think I'm definitely going to continue doing that stuff, working with the commentary and trying to break out with that a little more, as well as fight and do my thing. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun watching you guys kind of come back to it and get in there and compete.
Yeah, man. For me, it's just a hobby. I'm definitely not trying to make it a job. But so about that, you're now I mean, you're married now. You have a little, you have a young kid now. And how old is she?
She is going to be 3 months old here in a couple weeks. So
Yeah.
she's
So, well, congratulations. How's it like being a dad?
it's been great. You know, we were kind of quarantined before the quarantine started because we were trying to stay at home, and
Yeah.
I was trying to spend as much time with that little girl as I could. And so it's been good. It's been a blessing for me. Plenty of time with my young daughter. Changed a bunch of diapers. You know, rocked her to sleep quite a few times. And I know that not all dads get to have that type of experience when you're out working 50, 60 hours a week. It can be tough to spend time with your
Yeah.
children. So I'm blessed.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot, and people are, it's nice to be able to take the time and spend time with your family right now. And a lot of people are complaining about it because they're ready to get back to work, but honestly, it's a blessing in disguise, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm ready to get back to work too, though, and I understand that aspect. But sometimes you gotta work things out and take the proper precautions. I've been taking the precautions. I have a newborn,
Yeah.
so I'm trying to go out and get myself infected and then infect my newborn child. So we've been doing what we can.
So right now we're live and on Facebook, and I just got a question from someone. They said, "So what's Dangerous doing to pass the time? What have you been doing to pass the time besides raising your new little girl?"
Playing a lot of video games.
Yeah.
I typically make lunch and dinner around here, so taking care of my daughter. I bought a bag for my back patio, so I get out there and work my bag a couple rounds a day,
Yeah.
reps, and I've been running miles. One of my buddies in Lafayette, he challenged me to run some miles during this, so we've been kind of going back and forth at each other, sending times and trying to better each other.
Hey, I mean, a little bit of competitive reign there. There's nothing wrong with that.
And surprisingly, like, so I don't run typically when I'm getting ready for fights, I know a lot of people run and do a lot of road work. It's never been one of my things.
Yeah.
I get a lot of rounds. This is how I do my road work. But it's been fun getting back into running, and I'm kind of surprised by how fast I still am. I can still kind of go. So that's been nice. But also getting fat. So I know I still, even though I'm running miles, I burn more calories when I'm in the gym training every day.
What you weighing right now?
I woke up at 153 this morning.
Woo! Oh yeah.
So
hey man, it'll come off easy though when you get back to it. You know how it is.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if it's just the dad weight I'm putting on, but that's the heaviest I've ever been. Like stepping on the scale was 157, and obviously I fight at 125, so that's 31 pounds. That's a lot of weight. And right now I'm kind of walking in a place where I'm thinking like, man, this is a lot of weight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to work just to burn the calories.
Yeah. No, I know. I hear you there. That last time I fought was I was 230 when I started my weight cut or started the fight camp. I had 3 months to cut that weight and fought at 185. And honestly, I was dead. I was so tired. I mean, it's a lot of weight to lose.
If it were me in your corner, I would have told you not to cut weight. I just don't think, especially at the amateur level, you don't typically run into guys with crazy skill sets. They're amateurs too.
Yeah.
You should be fighting at the weight you walk at. And, now I'm coaching guys. I bring guys to Shreveport to compete in AKA all the time. My guys are pretty good. I would say so myself. And all my guys pretty much, they compete at the weight that they walk at, just because I don't want to concern ourselves with weight cutting at this early stage,
Yeah. Well, I'm going to roll back a little bit. So I met you, it was probably around 2008, something like that, when we met and started training together. I believe may not be accurate on the year, but we actually come up together and we did a lot of boxing tournaments and a little bit of kickboxing, some MMA. But what I'm interested to know, one, how did you get your nickname? Because I never knew that. And then two, how did you get into the fight game? What's your story from childhood moving up through to high school to walking into the gym?
Yeah, when I graduated high school, I played sports in high school. I ran track and I played football. Practiced a lot of football. Didn't play much, but after football, after track, after sports, I was kind of getting skinny fat. I noticed, like I was still a little dude, but I was like skinny and like out of shape and out of breath all the time. So I really started going to a gym right after I graduated that summer, because it had been a couple of months since I'd been playing sports, and I was like, man, I'm getting soft. So I walked into Brent Mason's Elite Combat Academy. It was over on Market Street at the time, and started training there and walked in first day. Had a lot of fun, got beat up, and just kept going back, and that's where it started. Brent Mason gave me my nickname.
Okay.
And he gave me my nickname. I was kind of a spaz there at the beginning. Still am kind of a spaz, but I didn't know how to train. I wasn't a great training partner, so I earned my nickname through hurting people accidentally. It sounds cool, like danger. Oh man, he must be a dangerous guy.
Yeah.
But it was from being a complete spaz.
Well, I mean, I remember back then, you being in the gym and stuff, and I've always been a bigger dude, and back then I was really heavy, but it was like you were a sleeper, man. You always looked calm and chill, never got too amped up emotionally, like some people do. And then when you got in the ring, it was time to spar. It was game on. It was always interesting to see that.
Yeah. When I played sports when I was a kid, I was always kind of a rough kid.
Yeah.
It's something that translated well for me from just being a rough kid to fighting people. So.
Well, so what are you doing? Like, what's your plans? I mean, I know fights are getting lined up now, and I don't know, where you're at in that. Your last fight was in December, I believe, right?
Yep.
And what's your plan on coming back from that? And I mean, what are you going to do moving forward? As far as have you heard anything yet about when you may have an opportunity, or are they still kind of working all the logistics out?
I'm sure that if I reached out and said, "Hey guys, I want to fight," they'd find a way to get me in there. But
Yeah.
it's been difficult training here of late, and I've done my due diligence. I've been running plenty of miles and been trying to still keep it moving a little bit. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I can start to convince my wife to let my kickboxing coach come over. Maybe I can hit some pads or something. But
There you go.
it's hard to say right now because I'm a guy who likes to get prepared, and I feel like for right now it's difficult to prepare for anything. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited. We're gonna get back in there. It might be this summer, it might be this next fall, but we're gonna get back in there. And again, other positives of being in quarantine is I think that I'm the type of guy that doesn't slow down, and I can kind of grind myself up. So I think over the last couple of years, I've been very busy trying to become relevant and fight my way into the UFC, and I fought my way into being ranked in the top 10. And it's been busy. It's been busy, and I think I've accumulated a lot of injuries, and I've got some mileage on me. I've got some mileage on me. So these quarantine times, maybe a good time to just heal up a little bit, kind of reinvigorate myself. We'll see. I feel good. 30 years old, but I feel good.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like anybody, and I've heard this a lot, and I've been hearing this chatter, and like momentum wise, you feel like people who may have been in the game ready to, climb the rankings have lost their momentum a little bit, being set back and not being able to train like they could normally?
Maybe, I'm sure some guys feel that way, but what they have to understand is everybody's experiencing it. So I kind of know that people are still out there training, and that bothers me because I'm taking precautions right now because there are more important things in this household than me being a fighter right now. So that's we've kind of shuffled things that way. So I'm taking the precautions, but I know there's guys out there still training. Yeah. That kind of bothers me a little bit because I feel like when they're putting in reps and I'm not, that's not good. So, but trying to stay positive about it. I'm ready to get back in there, and all these guys can get it anyway. So.
Well, I feel like in the next few weeks, everything's going to start slowly opening up. So hopefully, you get back in the grind and see what's up. Now that kind of in flow of conversation, I don't want to talk just about the fight career the whole time because honestly, I'm sure you get those kind of interviews all the time. But I do have some listeners and some viewers that aren't really into MMA. But what they are into are positive vibe and message. So, man, just a little bit on your come up, your struggles, from being in, coming from a small town like we're from, and growing up to where you're being watched worldwide on television, man. I mean, what's your incentive there, and what's your advice to people that may be a little held back and think they can't make it because where they're at or what they're doing?
Yeah. One of my biggest regrets is that I know a lot of people don't like to talk about regrets, but I regret the fact that I didn't find martial arts sooner in my life. Like I said, I started when I was 18 years old, and I think that if I would have started younger, it would have put me on a path to success earlier, because martial arts taught me that through repetition and not just repetition, but solid effort. You can really get better at something, and if you care about it and you're willing to toe the line and put in the hard work, then you can get it done. And you hear things like that coming up, you hear all these cliches, but it didn't come to pass for me until I found martial arts. And there's a lot of nuance to it as well, because you can do all the work that you deem is hard, but is it really the hard work? Then you have to find yourself a little bit, and you have to be able to be honest with yourself and with others around you. And you come to find that honesty is the best way to actually improving too, because if you can have real conversations with people about what you're doing well and what you're doing poorly, you can concentrate on what can actually pay dividends.
Yeah, it's always good to surround yourself with people who are like-minded and moving forward in the kind of same direction you are. But being the hardest worker in the room, man, I feel like anyone at the elite level that you're at, whether it be in fighting or anything in business or just in life, you got to be the hardest worker in the room. You can't half-ass it and make it.
I've got a hot take on this because I believe that you have to be the smartest guy in the room. It pays to be smart,
Yeah.
because I'm not the hardest worker in the room. I think if you went back and talked to people who I've trained with, and I've trained everywhere, trained all over the place, and I'm not a horse, and it used to bother me, like all these guys, man, this dude can just keep going after practice is over, but it's like I win fights.
Yeah.
I win fights. And I put in reps, and I do the work that's necessary, but I don't think that it pays to be a horse and put in extra reps and do extra things because, again, I think that you can invest too much time in something that isn't that important. At the end of practice, if you're still running around the mat, like great, but we fight. And I can't run around the mat because I just put all my effort into whipping your ass.
Yeah.
And you got beat up, and now you're running around the mat, and you're trying to prove to everybody that you're this workhorse. It's like, bro, go win fights.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. I think you got to be smart. There's a happy median with everything.
Yeah.
I've noticed the guy that's the horse, he ain't the one that's producing. Typically not.
No, and I agree. I agree there. I guess more in aspects of working your way up, through doing the work, I guess, in aspects where people were half-assing, finding, and of course working smart as well, because I mean, you got to keep from injuring yourself from overtraining. You got to make sure your diet's on point so you can, make weight when you need to. All those things, being a fight scientist, watching your opponent coming up, making sure that, you're finding their weak spots or your strategy. I mean, that's all mental, it's not, the physical aspect only goes so far.
I would say this, that there's something to continuity. And some days you're going to wake up and not feel great. Some days you're going to wake up and not want to do it, but you got to go do it anyways. And you got to be smart. If you're injured, don't do something that's going to make you more injured. You have to be smart in that regard, but it's there's so much to it. There's so much to it, but you gotta show up every day. There's something to showing up, and it doesn't have to always be your absolute best. You can drive yourself crazy, especially if you're really putting in work. Like I find when I'm getting whipped the most is when I'm in the deep part of my camp, when it's about the time when I'm about to peak. That's when things are the roughest, and there's a lot inside of you that'll tell you, like, man, I'm injured today, let's not go in. But sometimes you got to go in all the same. And there's nothing wrong with going through the motions either. There's a lot of people who will get onto you for, like, they want this crazy production all the time, but you got to be able to do it when you're tired. So there's something to continuity. Show up. It doesn't always have to be your best, and give yourself a little leeway. Maybe it's not your best day, but did you go? Did you get the work? Did you see some things? All right, we can work with that.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. But when you talk about training, I think about way back in the day when we were training together a long time ago. We used to have the same regimen every single day. It was like a stand-up day and then a ground day, or we would have the same thing. Now, everything's evolved. I mean, it's crazy how the sport's evolved to where it is now. But how do your regimens line up back, from back then to now at competing at elite level?
Dude, I think they were good. I think
really,
yeah, we were hard on ourselves. We just didn't go any better, and the people around, we were kind of learning as we were going. But I would say now my training sessions are a lot more calculated. Like, it's rare that I come in and I do everything in that session. It's always conceptualized. I'm always working on one thing at a time. Whereas back then, we'd come in, we'd roll a little bit, we'd wrestle a little bit, we'd hit pads, we'd spar, like we sparred every day.
Every day, man. God.
It was rougher back then than it is now. And to be honest, like, as somebody who's moving along in the sport and in a position now where I'm coaching guys, like, I'm trying to change that with these guys. And we're not sparring every day. We're working on concepts. We're working on getting better. So.
Hey, man, Dan Arnett just commented in. He said Danger's regimen back then was to get beat up every day like a scrub. Man, I'll tell you one thing. Getting beat up is the only way to get better. It really is, though. I mean,
those guys, Dan Arnett and Chad Linhart, they were rough.
God, dude. Huh? I used to be, and I was a big guy, and I'd fight in the bars and act stupid drunk and shit. But whenever I would get in the ring with Chad, I was scared every time. I'm not gonna lie, he would beat the shit out of you.
He was
Man.
mean. He was
Yeah.
mean. I remember being like 2 weeks into training, and Chad Linhart's ground and pounding me like I'm a grown man,
Yeah.
punching me with 4-ounce gloves on. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
So, dude,
I don't know. I don't recall getting whipped like a scrub though.
I don't think I ever saw that either, man. But I do remember those rough days, and I was just curious to know how that's evolved now. But I mean, I'm sure doing it for a living and being calculated and make sure that you keep in mind that this is your business, your way of life now. I mean, I'm sure you're a little more reserved on your actions every day.
Try to be, but I'm still a ruffian.
That's good.
I gotta keep myself in line. I've got to keep myself going to places where I'm comfortable and where I'm familiar, and at the same time being able to kind of push the barriers a little bit, because things have changed since being in the UFC. I've noticed, like, I'll go to gyms and it's hard to just go and get some decent work sometimes. Guys are always trying to prove it to themselves, and I understand that. I was that guy at one time. So because of that, I do have to be a little more selective with where I train.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, are you still doing anything with Top Team, or where are you at right now? I know you were there for a little while, or you just kind of where?
I trained at American Top Team from, what was that? I think 2013 till I got into the UFC.
Okay.
And then I started training at a gym in Northern California. So I bounced between American Kickboxing Academy and CSA, Combat Sports Academy. Those have been my places here over the last couple of fights. So
Okay.
it just needed a change.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing. I still have a good relationship with American Top Team, and could probably just go back there anytime I wanted, and I appreciate that. Cause I try not to burn any bridges or be a goofball, but I just needed a change, and I married my wife and moved to Texas and just started doing something a little different. But no, I've got no issues with American Top Team. We cool.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, you have now. You said you got married. Being in a relationship and then having all this attention on you. How is that adjustment? How's that all going? Everything cool with that? I mean, is it an adjustment for you, or has she kind of been there and used to it this whole time already?
Well, I met my wife in what I call the aftermath of Caged.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I guess we have to talk about that too.
I met my wife. We met on Twitter. She tweeted me, and I came home and met my wife, and that was it. She's been my girl ever since, and I think she's been a wonderful aspect of this journey for me because, again, I'll go back to there's something to both continuity and being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And she's always been a voice of honesty to me, and has always been a positive influence on me chasing my dreams. So it's been good. I haven't wasted much time chasing women, and I think that's helped me in my success with being a fighter.
Yeah, I mean that it does happen with that attention. Al, you brought it up, so I'll bring it up. MTV Cage. So you were quite the star on that show. I had a little bit of spotlights on there, not much, but it was around the time where we had just been in the fight, in Karate Mafia for probably 2 or 3 years at that point. Do you think that kind of helped spotlight you and kind of shine a little bit of light on you for you to grow into your career where you're at now?
Yeah, I think so. I think I would have gotten there regardless, But it was really it set me on the path. Nobody had ever told me I could be a UFC fighter until. Well, that's not true. Brett Mason used to tell me I was going to be a UFC fighter, but I didn't believe him. And then after Cage, there was a lot of people telling me like, "Hey, man, you can fight in the UFC maybe." So I was like, "All right, let's make a run at it." And it was good. It gave me the type of experience that you really can't buy, and things that I excel at now, and things that I'm good at, like I can freaking kill an interview.
Yeah.
You put the microphone in my hand, I'm good with it. We spent thousands of hours in front of cameras, thousands of hours. And sure, there were 10 episodes on MTV. It was one season and that's all people saw, but they don't know how many thousands of hours went into that. So I've got experience, and I think that it will help me in the future. It'll continue to help me because what I want to do is eventually be working in some manner of sports media, doing commentary or something like it. So.
I'm glad you said that because I think it's interesting. An idol of mine in the fight game is Daniel Cormier, and I'm sure you like him as well. And he's from our home state, but it's interesting how you can have be a champion wrestler and then be a champion in two different fight leagues, two-time in two different weight classes, and still grooming your career as a commentator and working for Fox directly and all that, and now ESPN and all that. I mean, I just think that there's a lot of guys in the fight game that are just worried about fighting and not worried about what happens afterwards. Guess what, man? I mean, after 40, I mean, it's pretty rough. What are you going to do? You got to be – and what you're saying tells me that I know you're going to be – you're in it to stay for a while, no matter if you're in the cage or outside of it.
I've always known that I would serve the vast majority of time in this sport outside of the cage. I mean, I've been fighting 10 years. Been fighting 11 years. I probably got another 4 or 5 left in me, and but I'll spend the rest of my life involved in this sport in some way or another. Yeah, Cormier's the man.
Yeah,
man, he's done a great job. You have to be competent, You have to be competent, and I think again, martial arts taught me that. If you focus and apply yourself, you're capable of being competent. I think I'm a great fighter. I do, but I know my talents are best suited outside of the cage. And I've always known that I'd probably be a better coach than fighter, because I've always had a lot of coach type energy about me. So I look forward to, I'm in the twilight. Not the twilight of my career, but this is the last half of it. We're in the final stretch, and I know I'm about to make a run. I'm about to do my best work in this portion, but I have no problems riding off into the sunset. I've done everything I've ever set out to do, save win the UFC championship. But that's what we're making a run at right now. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to be one of those guys you're going to have to beg to stop, because when I stop, I'm not coming back out of retirement to fight no bare knuckle boxing.
Man, dude, I see that stuff and I'm just like, God, man, hang it up. You got to figure out something else to do. I mean, you're going to die on the mat, bro. It's like, it's rough.
Not me.
Yeah.
It's over, baby.
Yeah. I mean, that's always good to know when some of those guys who who have made it into commentating now, and that they were great fighters and they knew when to hang it up, and they're still very reputable, and people still kind of, it's like the other guys who were great and had their few great years, then you see them in situations like you're talking about, and you lose respect, man. It's a little bit, or something there. It's just a little off,
Fighting is a way that I found to express myself. But fighting is not my identity. Yeah. It's not all I am, and I don't look forward to fighting so that the spotlight's on me. That's not why I fight. I'm not a thrill seeker. I've always said this. I'm not a thrill seeker. I legitimately enjoy whipping dudes. That's what I like to do. I like to beat people up. But you'll never catch me jumping out the back of an airplane. I don't like water sports. I'm not a thrill seeker.
What about heights? You like heights?
Heck no.
Me either, man. I never liked them, man. It's there's a different people always talk about that, seeking that adrenaline rush. Anytime I competed, it wasn't that for me. It's more nervous than anything until,
It's nice to feel it, when you hit that home run and the man falls. It's a good feeling, when you put that strangle on somebody and it does what it's supposed to do. It's a good feeling and it's fun. But I've always been more of, I don't know. I do like to fight. But I'm not a thrill seeker.
Yeah. Well, what would you have to say to anyone that would be, in the stages that we were in when I met you back in the day, of trying to figure out what their identity is, if they're going to pursue this as a career, and now you have to have a lot more in the ice chest, man. You got to have a lot more skill than you did back then, because it's evolved so much. Like, my ground game was always shit, and that last time I fought, I was like, man, I was just training those 3 months window I had. I was just training ground every day so I could defend enough to get back up and bang. You know what I mean?
Well, you're not lying, and you're coming to these shows now. These guys fighting now as amateurs, they got skills.
Yeah.
They're freaking good. And it wasn't like that back when we were coming up. I would tell somebody young that's coming up, that's trying to break out in the fight game, take it one fight at a time. Aim low. You know, I've never met a man that came in and was like, dude, I'm gonna fight in the UFC. I've never met a man who said that to me that actually did it. And I'm sure that it can be done. There are exceptions out there, but most of these knuckleheads that come in there and tell me they're going to be a pro fighter, they don't make it to fight one amateur fight. So I would say, first off, take your time, but hurry up. You know, don't fight and then rest. You need to be competing, but aim low. Fight one fight at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself too much. Surround yourself with people who are honest with you, and be honest with yourself. It's the only way that you can actually improve, is if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, this is what I can do. This is what I can't do. I need to get better at this. And you need people around you also who are willing to do it. And it's a hard thing to play on that line, because you can go to people who are just always negative, and you just always have something bad to say about it. And you don't want that either, but you want people who genuinely want what's best for you around you. And I would say any young fighters listening to this, feel free to reach out to me. Like, hit me up. I'll lead you on the right path. I think, but what's great about fighting is that there's so many, much like in life, there's so many paths to where you're going. And, you know, there are different scenarios. Though I could have good advice for people like me, I might not have good advice for somebody like John Jones. You know, that guy is a knucklehead. He does what he wants. He's winning everything. So
Yeah. I mean, that's talent there. Just pure talent, man. I mean, that's a whole nother game there. I mean, I don't even know. He's still hanging on. But, you know, you said that, and, you know, it's funny because, you know, like people having negative noise around you all the time, or having people that may be lying to you just to be a groupie, you know what I mean, and not being honest. I think having the group of people that are going to be real with you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's hard. It's a hard thing to balance out and come to. But for me, like, I'm hard on myself always. Yeah. And you kind of have to be a little bit, but, you know, at times I need somebody to tell me, like, hey, man, you did fine. You did good. Things all right. Like, relax, you know, because I'm hard enough on myself. And if I have somebody in my corner shouting the F word, telling me I'm not shit, that doesn't work for me, dog. Right. It doesn't work for me. I'm a different type of dude, you know. But I also don't need somebody stroking my ego. Like, I don't like that either. I just need somebody to tell me what they're seeing, to tell me everything's okay, to breathe, to slow down, and we good.
Man, I love that you said that, because honestly, aside from fighting, applying that to anything you're doing, I think makes you know, all the difference, because there's so many situations you'll get in where I had to get rid of a group of people around me that were just, I realized one day, were so damn negative and were bringing me down. I'm a macho guy, you know, that shit doesn't affect me. Everything affects everyone, man. Being around something long enough, it consumes you, and you don't realize it. And you look back and you say, damn, I'm glad I finally realized that my progression and that wasn't lining up, and I figured out what was more important, you know?
Yeah. It's hard to know too, because it just sneaks up on you that you're around somebody who is a succubus and just completely drains you all the time. And it's also a hard lesson to come to realize that you can't save everybody. You know, sometimes you think you're holding on to people because it's like, yeah, but man, when he's cool, he's freaking cool. And it's like, yeah, but 90% of the time he ain't cool, or, you know. And I understand. I've been in plenty of situations like that, and it's a hard thing to come to terms with.
Yeah. No, I agree. Anyone watching live, we got people coming in and out constantly. If you got any questions for Danger, now be the time to drop them, because we only got a few more minutes. I don't want to hold him up. I know he's got dad duty.
Busy day, hanging out on my patio.
Yeah, man. So, what else, man? What else do you think? You know, besides just, you know, coming up in your story, what are your other ambitions besides, you know, is it a self-fulfilling thing to make it to that certain level? Or, I mean, do you have any other ambitions besides becoming a champion and doing commentary? Being that you now have a little girl and things like that, I'm sure it's a little small mind shift there for you.
Honestly, I've never been much of a man of ambition, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I want to continue to provide for my wife and for my daughter, and I would like to be financially stable and independent and doing my thing. So there are other things that I'm slowly trying to work my way into, and over my fight career, I've just been trying to stack some capital and just bought my house. Me and my wife bought a house here in Humble, Texas, and so we've got us a little piece of land, and I just want to. I just want enough. I don't want it all. I just want enough, and we're going to keep working towards that. I could see myself running a gym one day. That's been something that I've always kind of had in the back of my mind, not just to make money, but also to provide for my community and to give myself something to do on a daily basis. And I teach currently at some different spots, and I love to teach martial arts. And again, I think I'll be doing this my entire life. So my aspirations are just to raise my daughter comfortably.
Yeah. That's interesting you said that, because honestly, I feel like, not shooting too high. Like I've always said, I don't want to be the richest person in the world. I just want to have enough money to do what I want to do when I want to do it, if that makes sense. The flashy, and once you, and you're at that level now. I mean, once you get into that level and you're with those guys that are all about blowing the money, thousands and thousands of dollars on the fancy ass clothes and fancy ass vehicles, and then turning around and not putting anything back, and then one day they're having a bare knuckle fight.
And that's the exact timeline. And for all these guys who complain about what they're paid and stuff, like I get it, we're professional athletes, but people look at what NFL quarterbacks are making and they say it's unfair, but it's like, bro, save your money. Just because you win one fight of the night bonus, don't go and frickin' lease a Lamborghini, you dipshit.
Yeah.
And that's a real story that happened. There's a guy that did that.
Oh yeah.
And then he's out here bitching about his taxes. Like, bro, pay your taxes.
Yeah.
God dang. So
I got another question in. It said, how's it juggling training, working the fights, and fighting now that you're a new daddy?
Well, I haven't got to train much since being a daddy, but there at the beginning, it was fine. It was fun. I'd get to skate off and train for an hour at a time. But one thing that is going to happen is we're probably going to have to make an adjustment to where I camp, and I've been putting in a lot of thought as to where I'm going to do it, and we've put things in place. I'm gonna probably keep it in Texas this next one, just because it spreads me thin. Not being my wife was pregnant during a good percentage of my last year's fight career, last year's fights, and I fought 3 times last year, but I camped for 4 fights. I actually got prepared for 4 fights, only fought 3 times, but it was a busy year. I spent a lot of time away from my wife, and by the end of it, I was spread so thin and missing out on things. It was very difficult for me, and I was having a hard time with it. So right now we're trying to put things in place to where I can camp and be closer to home. So that's an adjustment we got to make.
Yeah. It's definitely a time management deal. You have to become a lot better at that. And you can't screw off, an hour after training camp or an hour before training camp. You got to be a little more, strategic now.
That's the truth. Can't sit around and talk with my boys for an extra 45 minutes afterwards. So yeah, but I've always been pretty good at managing my time, getting in and out of the gym. Like I said, I'm not a horse. I go there, I do what I'm supposed to do, and I go my ass home and rest.
Yeah. What's it been like as you climb the ladder and being around some of the champions, and I know everyone's different, but I've met DC and got to train with him a couple times, and he's a great guy. But other guys on that level, what's it been like interacting with them now, and being able to train with those people? What's that like now?
They're just dudes.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's funny to come to terms with it, but when I first moved to American Top Team, I was a young guy, and I remember being around guys who were very notable at the time. And, I was a couple weeks into being at American Top Team, and these guys were asking me my advice on stuff. And I just can't, nobody really knows what the frick they're doing. Nobody's got this figured out. And anybody who pretends like they do have it figured out, you got to kind of look at them with a side eye, because we're all just kind of stumbling and bumbling our way through this thing. And, some of the guys who are the best fighters in the world, they're the biggest goofballs in the world too. I've done plenty of camps with really high level guys, and they're normal dudes, just goofs, just like you and me.
Yeah. I mean, you're one of those high level guys now.
I can whip all these guys. Yeah, let's not. I do feel that way. I can beat all these guys. So.
Man, I believe it. I've enjoyed being able to see, the transformation from back in the day and throughout your whole career. And I feel like there's a lot of other people we train with that were kind of up and down the whole way, but you just had like a steady climb, and I always, thought that was awesome. I'm honestly, how are you? You're 30, right?
30 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the same age, but man, in the aspect of the sport, I've always looked up to you, because I'm like, man, he's got a path. He's always moving forward. There's never shaking back. If he takes a loss, he takes it like a man and moves forward, doesn't bitch, doesn't complain, doesn't make an excuse,
You got to face it. You got to face it. Something I've been big on with this since getting into the UFC is facing your fear. I used to think when I started, like I'd have all these emotions going into it, and I was like, man, will this ever go away? Will this ever, at some point, will I get to a point where I don't feel these emotions? And I had to come to terms with the fact that no, they never go away. And I'm careful when I speak to these young guys coming up, and when I'm talking to my guys before they go out there, because I know how they feel. They feel like everything's on the line, and you should. I used to feel that same way. And sometimes these guys will talk to me, and they'll be like, I'm not in the UFC, but like I'm nervous. And it's like, bro, those nerves you feel now, you're going to still feel them, my friend. And you got to face it. You got to look it in the eyes and go. And that's been one of the biggest lessons of my my late 20s, now early 30s, is just knowing that it's scary. It's scary. The guys who get it done are the ones who do it anyways. So, yeah.
I think that's you hit it on the head right there. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, man. If you're worried about it and you're emotional about it because you care. It's something you're passionate about. If you're that person that's not passionate about it, then you're not going to give a damn. You're not going to have so much emotion wrapped up in it. So I mean, it's a good thing that you're scared, because you actually give a shit about what you're doing.
Nerves keep you alive.
Yeah.
There's a reason that we still wander this earth, and it's because our ancestors, they went to battle with another group of ancient people, and those people weren't nervous. Our ancestors were.
Yeah.
We still hear today.
Hey man, I agree. That's getting deep now. That's what's up. Well, man, I'm not gonna hold you too much longer. If anybody else has got any questions, drop them real quick in the comments. And dude, I do have something. So back in the day, we did a little drinking, a little partying a long time ago. I don't know what you drink now, being a dad and being a little more reserved. What do you enjoy as an alcoholic beverage?
Honestly, I've got some whiskey that I've had for so long, because I never, ever drink. But if I'm going to drink, I'm probably going to drink a little whiskey.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Well, I actually got you. I always like to give my guests something for, taking the time out of your day for coming on, and being that we have this whole social distancing thing still going on. I really can't reach out and give you anything creative, man. So I got you a gift card to sipwhiskey.com.
Yay.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, you can get you something from there, and it may sit on the shelf for a couple of years, but you possibly, I know it's going to happen when you get that belt, man. You can definitely sip some whiskey that night.
Hey, fight night's always been a whiskey night, my friend.
Most definitely.
Win, lose, or draw, you drink whiskey on fight night, baby.
I'm excited I still haven't made it to one of your UFC fights, man. I really want to. And Andrea Lee's another really good friend of ours. I definitely haven't got to see her fight in person since she's been to that level. So that's on my bucket list for the next couple of years, is to see you guys in the octagon.
It'd be great if we could all get on the same card.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
My next fight will be stateside, so I'm not going to freaking North Korea or.
Yeah. Well, real quick on that, how does that change the game? Like going out of states, or is it throw off the last week there for you, or is it
I fought in Singapore in 2017. and I fought and I won. I fought a really tough guy, and I competed well, and I felt like I was like, shoot, this wasn't that bad, After it all, I was like, I could probably do that again. Korea was tough. Korea was tough. It was hard on me, and I don't feel like I adjusted. Just the lag.
Yeah.
It was tough. No excuses, because he had to face it too.
Yep.
Though he was smart, he got out there 2 weeks early, and I guess looking forward, if I'm to do it again, I'm gonna have to go out early. But it was rough. Korea was rough.
Well, you're on the path forward, man. I'm excited to see the next one. I'm excited to see these fights coming up in the next few weeks. And, what's your take on those?
Should be fun. I'm excited to just see some live sports again. Henry Cejudo, obviously I've done quite a bit of time with Henry, and Henry's the best competitor in the world. I look forward to watching him compete again, and it should be good. Good fun card, bunch of matchups. I'm pumped on it. I wish I'd been training. I'd go fight on Fight Island.
I think it's crazy what he's doing, man. But it's making this thing happen. Not taking any downtime. As much as possible, but actually still making these fights happen. So that's exciting.
They say that it must go on.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, you got to pay the bills, bro. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out. It's good to catch up with you, and hopefully when you're back in town, hit me up. We can catch up. I always love seeing you at the local fights, and I look forward to seeing you on the big screen again, bro, here soon.
Yes, hey, I'll be at the next fights. I commentate. Sorry, I commentate for those guys, and I'll have guys competing on that card too. One of my guys, Demas Chapa, he's got a title shot. He's fighting a local Shreveport kid, tough kid. And also Matt Costello, another one of my guys, should be fighting for the title. So I've been vouching for it. He put on a great performance in his last fight. And listen, I got one of the best little amateur groups in the country right now. I put them together in a matter of months. We're a serious group. We got some real studs up and coming. It's not just me. I'm going to keep paving the way. But after me, you're going to see the West Chase Fight Force.
Hey, dude, that's what's up. Yeah, I saw that group of guys that last card. They were tough, man. I like it.
Pay attention to the decisions they make. They're not just tough; they're well trained.
Yeah, that makes all the difference. Well, any last thoughts, man? Anything you got to offer, or you want to say to anybody listening? Like I said, keep in mind that some of these guys and ladies don't, participate in our fight world.
Just stay up. Stay up. Do your best to stay positive. And I know times are rough right now, but we about to get back to work. And when everything gets to ripping, everything's gonna get back doing well. You'll run into people with different ideas. You gotta be okay with it. Try your best not to be offended, as well as try not to offend people at the same time. And do your best. Stay up. Aim low, one step at a time, and don't be so hard on yourself.
I like it, dude. I just said something the other day. It's patience, and the living in the moment makes all the difference whenever you get that achievement. It really does.
Sure does.
All right, bro. Well, thanks everyone for listening, watching. Thanks for coming on again, Danger. I appreciate it. And everyone, please subscribe to the podcast.
Thanks, DJ.